Okay, so if we can turn our attention inward and contemplate our experience as presence, as awareness, consciousness, beingness. Taking on the form of this perception, this sensation. Like water takes on the form of a stream, or takes on the form of a gurgling brook, or a foaming stream. Similarly, moment by moment, you take on the form of this, meaning consciousness takes on the form of this perception via this particular mind. It paints the entire canvas. Like those light bulbs that change color. They move from green to purple to yellow to pink to red. Like breath takes on the form of inhalation and exhalation. Like the silence takes on the form of sound, the singing of birds, the sound of the wind. Such ease, such simplicity and purity, effortless expressions of the infinite invisible. moment by moment, without any interruption. Your experience is that of awareness, presence. There are no gaps in presence, in consciousness. And this continuity, this eternity, this infinite, takes on so many forms within itself. It dances as a particular mind, a particular point of view, a particular reference. Without any separation, like the raindrops fall on the surface of the pond and on the neighboring field and on the rooftops of the village, without any separation. Although the rainfall splatters differently when it meets the surface of the pond or when it meets the rooftop. It's the same rain. Whatever you perceive, whatever you experience, every minute detail of it is the imprint of consciousness. Consciousness taking on the form of this perception, this sensation, without actually separating itself into separate awarenesses or separate consciousnesses. That which perceives, that which is, permeates the entire dream, the night dream, the waking dream, the nightingale's dream, the dream of the butterfly. Then permeates the entire experiential realm, sensory realm, the perceptual realm, the mental realm. Because it is that presence, that aware presence that you are, which perceives. You never take a step away from yourself to be and to perceive. Because in being and perceiving, there are no objects, or the so-called objects are your own intimacy, like the currents within the ocean. In the recognition that your entire experience is awareness, awareing itself as the reality of just the reality, as well as the reality of mind, and the reality of body, and the reality of world. You will find that resistance and argumentation do not belong within this understanding, do not relate to this understanding. That whenever you are resisting, arguing, taking a personal point of view about how things should be, that at that moment you are overlooking this understanding. In recognizing the God's hand in everything, God's touch, God's whisper, whispering to infinite minds, various whispers, but always that sweet voice. You recognize wherever your eyes fall is the body of God. Whatever you hear is God's voice. When God's wisdom reveals itself to you, sometimes it may tell you to take a different road. We are capable of discerning whether that voice is the voice of the past or God's voice. In the Garden of Eden, there are no strangers. Everybody and everything belongs. And there is the peace of being because everybody and everything that you meet is placed there in the garden by the great gardener. You're not arguing with the gardener's design. You are the presence of awareness. And everything that is unfolding to you is inviting you to this recognition, is inviting you to recognize your true nature. You are not defined by the sensations, by the perceptions, by the thoughts that arise to you. You are not defined by the images, by the stories, by the memories, by the tales that you perceive. You are the vastness of being, like the wide open sky that has no issue with the presence or absence of clouds, the shape or the size or the duration of whatever appears. All appearances are God's doing. You can live your particular story, but recognize the storyteller, recognize the author. Because the author's mark is everywhere. And above all, it shines as the awareness that is and which perceives. Well, if there are any questions, please make sure you unmute your mic and can turn on your video as well, so we can see each other. So any questions? Yes.
Hi, Mehdi.
Hello, Anna.
How come it's rare that it's not often that people ask questions?
I don't know, maybe the meditation silences the mind. I don't know.
That's exactly what it is.
I want that experience too.
Hola, Maria.
No, we've asked a lot of questions over the years.
Yes, the way.
It's nice that they're slowing down for us.
Nice.
Yes. Yes. Eventually, I don't know. There are no questions.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
In the meditation, you talked about like the judging and no fighting and resistance, that it doesn't have a place in this understanding.
Yes.
Yesterday, I had an experience where I was noticing there's a lot of prejudice, like I was experiencing like prejudice, and like I felt racist, or I noticed, yeah, and there was resistance, and I thought that.
You mean you were feeling discriminated against in a way, or
No, I didn't like a certain race, and I just thought like that, yeah, awareness is stupid for making it the way it is.
Yes, it's a good understanding that that which is created by the one creator, meaning that everything that we experience is the intimacy of consciousness, consciousness taking on this form in its complete freedom, its infinite freedom. And this does not mean that there isn't intelligence, there is also intelligence. We avoid stepping towards a fire, we avoid eating certain toxic foods, we avoid the company of folks who have a sort of certain unfriendly conditions. So there is wisdom, and I would not say that is a prejudice, I would say that is a discrimination. It's an important discrimination to apply in the, during your life, in the dream, the waking dream, to apply that. Sometimes we override our innate wisdom because we have some personal interest, and which is fine. So we do that, and we can also notice the consequences of that, whatever the consequences may be. In some cases, it makes sense to override some of your wisdom. For example, there is a wisdom about not being a workaholic, for example. It's an example. Yet there are times in your life where you are in certain situations where what is required is for you to go beyond 3-4 hours of work. You may end up working 6, 7, 8, 10 hours. Who knows? And it may require that. So you may be going against your wisdom, but it's a certain situation that may be requiring that. Now there are some situations where you may, in order to defend your life, you may be unable to avoid a certain situation and have to confront it with a certain force, which may be against the wisdom of non-violence, but yet sometimes there is violence. You may find yourself in a situation where that's required. Anyways, so there's a difference between discrimination and prejudice. There is a certain wise discrimination. And you don't know ahead of time, but as the situation is unfolding, you're perceiving the situation outwardly and inwardly. And you take everything in account, the outward and the inward. So there is appropriate resistance, let's say.
What about the resistance that it shouldn't be this way?
Well, that's just completely mental. I mean, it is this way. It shouldn't be this way. I mean, yeah, if you want to write a novel, you can write a novel, but it shouldn't be this way. But it is what it is. So it shouldn't be this way is completely insignificant. How is it right now? What is it that's required? What is it that's being called for to respond and to act from a place that is harmonious for everybody, including oneself? That's basically being present and responding as presence, taking in account our inner the voice within. And when the voice within is taking into account the whole and not just focused on me, myself, my personal happiness, but it's understanding that happiness is universal, then that voice within is more harmonious for everybody involved. And as you are living as consciousness, as the recognition that it's all God's dream, that it all has God's touch in it. It's all God's creation. As you are living from that understanding, then you will find less and less, you will find yourself less and less in situations where the thought, it shouldn't be this way, would arise. In other words, you will find that all is well and not, goodness, it shouldn't be this way. And also, it shouldn't be this way assumes that there is a separate perceiver or a separate experiencer. But the perceiver / experiencer is not separate from that which it perceives. So you may perceive the heartbeat, but you are not separate from the heartbeat, as a metaphor, okay? Just trying to bring it more to sort of realizing that in the body there are many different functions, but they're all what the body is, in a way. So whatever you perceive doesn't relate to a separate perceiver. Perceiver and that which is perceived are like a water and a wave. The wave is water, water is wave. Of course, the wave doesn't define water, but yet water is wave, wave is water. also the reality of the wave is water. Now, wave is, you could say, movement of water. It is water taken on the form of a wave, but still remaining what it is, namely water. So similarly, in your experience, awareness takes on the form of this experience, this quote unquote situation, this existence, without actually becoming and remaining as it is, remaining awareness. And the form that it takes, the reality of that form, is awareness. They are not two. So the thought that it shouldn't be this way is a thought that says this way shouldn't be this way. And in a way, once you understand what we are sharing, you realize that it makes no sense. What is it that's saying it shouldn't be this way? What? So it shouldn't be this way are just sound bits. They're sound bits. But because when the understanding that, or let's say, when there is the belief that there is somebody, is somebody to defend, to protect, to safeguard, there is somebody, there is right and wrong. And I'm mostly right and the rest is more or less right, but mostly wrong. You see, when there is that dynamic in place, then because of that dynamic existing, then there is the thought that he or she shouldn't act like this. This shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be this way. But when you take a look at this belief that there is somebody to protect, or some point of view, or some body of thoughts and feelings, and they're important, they're very important. When you take a look at that, you find that you're taking the shape of a cloud to be important, because somehow you take it to be important, but you don't realize that a minute later when you look at the shape of the cloud, it's changed. It's a different shape.
Like that thought or that feeling.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. But what seems to remain unchanged is the belief that there is somebody to protect. There is what we refer to as the me, the I thought. The first is somehow what remains. There is somebody, somehow, somewhere, maybe it's behind the eyes, or maybe it's inside the brain, or I don't know, it's somebody somewhere that everything is we have to take care of that. We have to get together and somehow figure a way of protecting and safeguarding, and this person, and preferably me, preferably me. We'll take care of you later, but prefer me first. But it's an illusion, the me illusion. As in your experience 24/7 is experience of awareness, of presence. And of course, also presence taking on the form, or awareness or consciousness taking on the form of this conversation right now, this perception, the sound, sensations, which are constantly dancing, changing. But that which doesn't change in your experience, that which is, say, eternal. I don't like the word continuous because it's like something is continuing in the day, but that which is eternal in your experience is awareness, right? It's awareness. And when you explore awareness, when you go into awareness and explore awareness, you will find that it has no, it's not a female or male or big or small or pretty, or it doesn't have those qualities. And also when you explore awareness, you will find there is no personal owner to it. It doesn't begin with me and ends with no me, with end of me. That's not appropriate to awareness. It doesn't fit. Right? So the feeling of me is just in a way how consciousness may be dancing in this particular moment. But also, what's also available is wisdom of consciousness. It recognizes that the me is just a dance, that there isn't an actual wave. The wave is, where is the wave? You try to catch a wave. Well, if you're a surfer, yeah, you would, but you'd say to sort of, if you're a photographer, you can take beautiful pictures of waves, but that's just a picture. It's a beautiful picture. Right?
Why am I still interested?
Are you still what?
Why am I still interested?
Interested. You're interested because God's interest came to you. You're interested because the whisperer whispered in your ear and you heard the whisper.
No, I'm saying like, why am I still interested in being separate?
Oh, right. Where are you? Because we like to, you know how sometimes elephants, they scratch their back against the tree. It feels good to scratch the itch. You are enjoying scratching the itch. But in this case, scratching the itch is the itch.
Is what?
Is the itch. Scratching the itch is the itch.
I don't get it.
No. Our interest in emotions is that which maintains the emotions. Is that which the emotions require, need. They need your interest. Why are you interested? Because you like it. Because, in fact, nobody is forcing you, right? So it's just you and yourself, right?
Yeah.
So it's your choice. I mean, you cannot blame your priest or your rabbi or your guru or your sheikh or your grandmother or your neighbor, or you can't, or you're the postman.
You said our interest in feeling the emotion is what keeps the emotion?
Yes,
Is that right?
our interest in the emotion, I'm not talking about in comprehending, but our interest in feeling, adjusting, blaming, correcting, avoiding, negating, etc. is what maintains emotion.
Okay, so I'm interested because I like it.
Yes.
And I tell the story that I don't like it,
Yes.
which I also like.
Right. You got it. Because if in fact you don't want to engage in any activity, in a certain activity, if you really don't, you won't. Because you have the freedom. You have the freedom. The freedom of consciousness, the freedom of the self, not the freedom of the body. The body has a limited degree of freedom. The mind has a limited degree of freedom. But the freedom of being, the freedom of awareness, is there anything that controls? Well, we know the body, all sorts of things control the body. Okay, like if it's too much heat, temperature goes up by 10 degrees, I don't know if we'll survive. But is there anything that controls awareness? Is there anything that impinges upon awareness? It's the same awareness whether you were, when you were 5-year-old or 10, 12-year-old or 20-year-old, whether you were being loved by your neighbor or being ridiculed by your girlfriends. It's still the same awareness, untainted. Yes? Yes?
Yeah.
When you were hungry, or when you were thirsty, and when you ate and you were no longer hungry, it was the same awareness, whether the body was hungry or the body was satiated.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same awareness when the temperature was 22 degrees and it was freezing, and temperature was, I'm talking about Fahrenheit, and then the temperature was, I don't know, 80 degrees, and you were just loving it, sunbathing. It's the same awareness, right? I mean, it was, right?
Yeah.
So there's the freedom of awareness. I mean, the body has a certain limited freedom. The mind has limited freedom. My dog has a limited degree of freedom. But consciousness is absolute. So when I say about consciousness, I'm not talking about some concept. I'm talking about this awareness, this consciousness, consciousness. Not Megdi, I mean, the I that all eyes, the universal I is universal. That is awareness, aware. That is where the freedom of being resides. It doesn't reside in the mind or in the body. Because no matter how powerful your body is, whatever, there are athletes, they lift 500 pounds. I don't know what they do. They lift 600 pounds. I don't know what they do. But they cannot lift 650. There are some these yogis, they can sit on nails. They sit on nails. and they don't get disturbed. But you put a 500-pound boulder in their lap, okay? They're gonna get poked right through the legs and through the behind. They can do that because they're only 120 pounds or 140 pounds, but it's limited. There are degrees of freedom in the world, body, mind. The only absolute, where freedom is absolute, is consciousness. And so you need to recognize that this freedom is your freedom, is the freedom of your freedom, not the freedom of Amna or Mehdi or John. It's a freedom of consciousness. And you are this consciousness. So keep contemplating that. Keep contemplating that with true nature, because this is where God's infinite power, potential, creativity, and omnipotence is. So you need to contemplate that.
You say contemplate, like sit with, consider?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Yes, sit with, consider, reflect upon, wonder what's the meaning of, look at your experience and see if you can sense this transparent, aware presence. Sense it. Okay, fine. I mean, it is that which is and perceives. So look in your experience. What is it that is and perceives? And you will find it's transparent presence, transparent awareness, which we call I. And that is where all freedom resides.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi there, Magdi.
Hello, George.
I want to ask you about beliefs. I know here in the United States, there are a lot of people who still believe that Trump won the election. There are a lot of people who believe that the coronavirus is a hoax. So, I mean, I didn't want to ask, and so one of the questions I asked myself is, why do people hold beliefs which are contrary to fact? Then I thought about this, and I got several solutions. One is, that may be who knows what their source of information is, and who knows what the facts are. And my real question is not about these other people and their beliefs. My real question is about me and my beliefs. So my question is, how do I know, to what extent is the way I view the world accurate? To what extent am I deceived? Now, for example, I have a belief in a separate self, okay? And there's a good example where my belief is inaccurate, even though I'm still somehow holding on to that belief. But in general, to what extent do I somehow create the world in my mind? To what extent is the thing I call reality filtered through my mind and through beliefs? How trustworthy are my beliefs? On what can I rely?
Mm-hmm. So the absolute answer to your question is that you can rely on that which is absolute, which is true across time and space, which there's no debate about it. Now, in terms of the world, the mind, the body, these are limited. This is the way consciousness sort of manifests limited forms, limited aspects of its creation. So there is so much data that is available to particular minds. You're only aware of, in terms of your perceptions and what you perceive, what you read, what you hear, what you explore, what you're interested in. So there is a limitation to the body, to the mind. We're not capable at the level of the body-mind to comprehend the whole, because our perspective, our field of experience, our field of perception is limited. Like even a binocular that has, I don't know, 100x or whatever it is, it's true that it can perceive at 2 miles away, you know, with a lot of detail, but it cannot perceive at 6 miles away. It cannot perceive at 20 miles away. And of course, it cannot perceive if the lens is not completely clear and clean, or the best lens is available. And even the best lenses available now, still there, in 20 years, there would be a lens that's 20 times more improved. So what I'm sharing with you is that from the perspective of the world body mind, it's important to understand that aspect of our experience is limited. And that understanding, if we honor that understanding, it may lead us to a certain flexibility, to a certain to holding point of view tentatively, because it is possible that around the corner there will be another piece of information that may come to us that we're not aware of right now, that may affect the point of view that we're adopting right now. So unfortunately, because we take the mind and our experience to be real, to be sort of, we want it to be strong and solid, because in a way it is our carapace, our shell. We are. It's protecting us. It's preserving us. It's defending us. It is defining us. It is what we are. So we accumulate this sort of whatever knowledge we accumulate, and we sort of put it in the clay. You know how you put clay around something that then it becomes solid. You know, like a papier mâché, paper mâché. Is that the English word, paper mâché?
Yeah, right. Yes.
Paper mâché, and you put clay around it, becomes, oh, this is the solid structure right now. Unfortunately, this is what we do. And then when we find around the corner a piece of information that isn't fitting exactly within our mold, I don't know, we may become defensive, or we may become belligerent, or we may ridicule, whatever. We get a little local. We get crazy in general. We get ridicule. We become ridiculous. So in terms of what you can really rely on, and you talked about the belief in being a separate self, you can rely on consciousness. One aspect of the consciousness is the higher reasoning. That consciousness has one aspect of it is introspection, that it can look after the world and see the world. Oh, what a beautiful play I'm playing. Of course, they're all limited. You know, this guy can only dance ballet. This person is a tap dancer, doesn't know caca about ballet, but is a great tap dancer, etc. It perceives all of that. It perceives its creation, but it also has a capacity to look within, to look at itself, to say, oh, I am so beautiful. I'm so infinite. I'm so great. Oh, what is that? Oh, let me see. There is a thought that I'm mortal. So it has a capacity to look at that. Am I mortal? Oh, wait a minute. Let's look at that. So there is the capacity within consciousness. And for that, you don't need to go outside. You don't need to go check with Magdi, with guru. You don't need to, because in a way, nobody, what we speak here, you look and you say, yes, I get it. You have your own capacity to look at him and say, well, where is that separate self? There is a separate consciousness. Okay, where is that separate consciousness? What are the walls around it? Where is the coat that it wears? Where is its home? Where is its village? Where is its country? Where is its planet? You don't find it. So you can contemplate with it, and you have the freedom also as consciousness to say, well, yeah, I get it. Consciousness is not. I don't find consciousness to be limited, but still could be, even though I don't have any evidence, it still could be that it is limited. You have that freedom too to say, well, okay, fine. Who's there to argue? You're you with you yourself and toi. You, I, and yourself. It's just all by. You're free to say, well, it's possible that tomorrow I will find that consciousness is freaking limited. Fine, that's your freedom. But you can, and I invite you to recognize, you're free to accept the invitation or not, that there is no tomorrow. You're looking now. You look now, and if there is a separate self right now, you're gonna find it. Because it's there. You're gonna dig and find it's not gonna be found in 5 minutes, or you're not gonna find it in yesterday's dreams or yesterday's thoughts or around yesterday's discussion with your friends. You're gonna find it now. So it's up to you. You look and you see, is there or isn't? And if there isn't, if you don't find it now, again and now, sooner or later, you've got to drop this belief. I mean, nobody's going to drop it for you. Nobody's going to tell you, stop feeding that baby. Nobody outside of yourself. You are going to say, okay, here it is. It's very clear that I right now is this awareness. And it seems that that's sort of the beginning and end of all. It's sort of like that sums it up. It sums it up. It's like, I am this aware presence, and this I isn't contained in a brain. I don't have any experience. It's contained inside the brain, inside the body, inside the Pandora's box, inside the kitchen. No. You come to this realization in this moment that I is this aware, transparent presence, effortless, is right there. And everything that you perceive is intimate with awareness. It's at zero distance from awareness. Meaning that you are not experiencing in this moment that there is Magdi outside of yourself, or that there is a hearing outside of yourself. You're not experiencing that, because even the thought that Magdi is outside of yourself is out there in Virginia. That thought is not outside of yourself. Even the feeling that oh, I am here and he or she is there, that feeling is not outside of consciousness. And that feeling that says, I am here and she is there or he is there, that feeling doesn't know anything about you. You see. So in terms of, but coming back to your question about belief, okay, belief in the face of evidence gets adjusted. Now, in the realm of the world, body, mind, because we are looking at the world body mind, our experience of the world body mind is limited. In terms of the COVID, because of my interest in various interests, I do not have available to me the time to really go deeply and expand it, because there's more and more to expand. I mean, when you start studying this field, you may find you need to spend many hours possibly to get to 50% understanding. At least that's my point of view about it. I may be wrong. You know, some others may come to comprehension much faster than this particular mind here. And given that that's not where I'm going, I remain open. I say, okay, you know, I don't know. I choose I don't know. And I make the choice of, because in relationship, I prefer not to impose my point of view on others. So in relationship, I honor how people are feeling, how they're sensing, and so it's that's how I am maneuvering. But up to now, in just about everything that I do, I don't have a particular right and wrong. I don't find that. It's more at the moment. It's more what's happening in the moment. And at the moment, I may find that, okay, no, that's not, it's that way, not this way. But it's not a preconception. That's when it comes to the world, body, mind. But in terms of consciousness, it is absolutely clear to me, it is beyond any doubt, that my experience is that of consciousness, of awareness, and the experience of everyone, every human being, is the experience of consciousnness. But they are not knowing in the most. I'm not going to put everybody in the same bag. Overall, there is an unknowingness. There is a difference between being knowing, knowing, or being unknowing. Okay. Let me see one moment if I could. All right. So there is. So I was talking about the knowingness. So being knowingly. Knowing. Is that clear what I was sharing, Georgia?
Yes, very good. I really appreciate that. Let's say with regard to the coronavirus, as you said, you can't investigate all that. You can't be an expert in everything. And it seems that you have to make some interim decisions. So for example, with regard to the coronavirus, most experts seem to say, yes, real, and you better take precautions. So that in that sense, interimly, I have to rely on expert opinion. Because as you say, I can't, there's an example where I really can't investigate all of it. Now you raised a question, am I mortal?
But I just want to say one more thing. I mean, you know, that in terms of the expert position about COVID, there is expert and expert. There are all sorts of experts, and there are experts who are debating the experts, and the experts who are debating the experts that are debating the experts. Anyways, back to.
No, yes, no, I agree. At some point, you or I have to make a decision. You know, what expertise will I trust? You know, will I trust some guy who's been studying this all of his life, or will I trust Trump? That's a decision that I have to make. So, like you raised an interesting question: am I mortal?
Mortal, yes.
Mortal. Well, I don't know. Another interesting question is, to what extent is the world? Is there an external reality? In other words, is there a real screen in front of me? Is there a real external world out there? Now, my opinion is no, but again, I don't know. And I don't know even how I could know that.
Yes. But my take on it is that, yes, there is an external world and there is an internal mind, but the reality of this external world and the reality of this internal mind is consciousness.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This approach, this way of sort of embracing the idealist and the realist invites both the idealist and the realist to the recognition of the reality of consciousness. So it's not a debate between whether it is the mind that is real and creating the world, whether it's the world that is real that created the mind. In other words, is the reality the creation came from the Big Bang, or is all creation within my mind? I don't take a position one way or the other. I recognize that both debates, both the idealist and the realist, are two points of views that I acknowledge, and I invite the recognition of the reality of consciousness. In other words, that yes, there is an internal mind. Obviously, I don't know your thoughts, you don't know my thoughts. Yes, there is an external world. We both experience tables and the volcanoes, oceans, the fruit trees, etc. So, but the reality of both the internal and external, the internal mind and external world is consciousness. And why? Because both thoughts, sensations, which are the internal realm, refer to their knowingness, meaning refer to consciousness, that which is their reality. Because you cannot remove consciousness out of a thought and still have a thought floating around in space. So there is a thought that floats out, is flowing in space, but that space is awareness. It's not floating in a space that is apart from awareness, it's floating in a space of awareness. Similarly, the mountain, Mount Meru, is perceived and exists as a mount, with its molecules and atoms and whatever else we're going to discover about the material realm. But it exists within a space, and that space is not an external space out there somewhere, it's a space of awareness. So when you contemplate that we are talking about reality. So it was your previous question was about belief. So there is belief and reality. Now reality is that which is across time and space, that is absolute across time and space. It's not something that changes due to certain conditions. That's how I define the term reality. So when you come to reality, you realize that, okay, whatever we're experiencing, whether we're experiencing the world, or whether we're experiencing the universe, or whether we're experiencing the mind, all of it could be a dream, or all of it could be an actual universe out there. Who knows? The reality of the experience, of that experience, is what matters. And so when you look at what is the reality of the internal mind or external world, you find that this reality is consciousness, which is our direct experience. We have a direct link. We have is it the red phone? What is the red line that you pick up the phone and you're talking to? We have a direct line to consciousness. It's always on. I mean, you don't even need to pick up the handle. It's always on. All you need to do is notice. And you can notice by, well, just asking yourself, am I aware? Yes. What is this I that is aware? It's, yes, obviously I, and this I that is aware. is awareness itself. Awareness is aware. I, awareness, is aware. I'm aware that I am. I'm aware that I am aware. And all of that is non-phenomenal. And I'm also aware of mind, thoughts, sensations, images, feelings. And I'm also aware of world, computer, table, George, Holger, Tracy, I'm aware of. I'm also aware of body, body meaning sensation. So the reality of the world, the universe, and the reality of the body and the reality of the mind is consciousness. And we've talked before about this one reality, but that's not what we're going to talk about now. But once you put them together, then the case settled. Now, once that case is settled, what remains is for us to sort of deepen that understanding, live that understanding. So whenever the old model arises, because the old model is still there somehow, it can arise, when the old model arises, we have the know-how, we have all the tools that are required to adjust, to make the adjustment, to realign, the alignment of our life, of our thinking, of our behavior, of our perception, the alignment with truth. So there is an alignment with truth where both the mind and the body in the feeling state, because at the body level, there is also an expression. The body is defending certain old positions. The main old position is I am me, at the feeling level, and you're you and whatever. So there is an alignment, of course, at the mind level and at the feeling level, and of course, in the living, do we live that alignment? And eventually it lives itself. Actually, quickly enough, it lives itself through us.
Not quickly enough.
I was trying to squeeze that one in, George, but
Good try, Ragnar. Good try.
But you snapped my fingers. Oops.
Anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Holger, you're right. The only truth in the manifestation is the person who says, I am. Yes.
Yesterday, when we were exploring the outside and inside, like, I don't know, it seemed like you said something different today. Like there's an outside and there's an inside, whereas yesterday it was like the inside and the outside arise in the same field and there's no separation.
Yes. So there isn't an outside or an inside to awareness. As consciousness, there is no inside. Now, one could say that there is a world that exists outside the body, and that there is a mind that exists inside the body. That there is an external realm of worlds and universes and infinite universes, and that there are infinite minds, not just the human minds or the animal minds or the minds of different realms. But the main thing to comprehend is that there is no external or internal to awareness, to consciousness. And when we speak about something inside of me or outside of me, what are we talking about? Are we talking about something that's outside of your body, like, for example, New York City? Or are we talking about something inside your body, like your liver, your lungs? Or are we talking about something inside or outside of consciousness? I being consciousness. Now, I want to make a little comment before I continue. That in addressing a question, there isn't one answer. There isn't one answer to the same question. It's not like a math. What's the square root of 16? You know, it's not like that. In every answer, there is a nugget of truth. But you don't get the entire gold mine in one answer, because no answer can deliver the entire gold mine, because the gold mine is not in language. So there are sometimes something is said that may sound to be just the opposite of what was said yesterday or the day before or the week before. But it doesn't matter, because it's about, in that moment, how the question is addressed. So coming back to the inside and outside, one could say, and that's a model, obviously it's a model, that there is inside and outside the body, inside and outside. There is a world outside of the body. One could say that. But most importantly is to comprehend that there is nothing inside and outside. There's no inside or outside when it comes to consciousness. So that would be an acceptable model if you take all what I said right now. That would be an acceptable understanding.
Thank you.
From another perspective, the perspective of reality, there is only one reality, which is consciousness. And everything else is like the waves in the ocean or the currents in the ocean. the body is, on one hand, a concept. On the other hand, it is a sensation. And on another hand, it is feet, legs, arms, head, lungs, liver, heart. And from another perspective, the body is also perception. So you could say, yes, the body is mind. And you could also say the body is matter. But given there is one reality, the reality of both body, meaning matter, and the reality of mind, meaning concepts, images, thoughts, is that one reality, the reality of consciousness. So when we are talking about body and mind and world, let's say that we are talking about the dance of consciousness, just as a way of saying it, or an expression of consciousness. It's like when we're talking about the waves or the currents, we are talking about the dance of the ocean, or the dance of water. There isn't a reality to the wave or a reality to the current outside of the reality of the water. The reality of the wave, the reality of the current is water. As an image, as a metaphor. Okay, Kelly. Okay, well, very lovely to be with you, Trish. Lovely to see you, Trish. Hope all is well. Holger and Amna. Zoe, hello, Zoe. Hello, Marga. Lovely to see you. Esther. Hello, Esther. Gloriana. George. John. Holly and Shiva. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Agni.